everyone, I hope you're doing fine. My name is Skyline, and today we have the grand finals of Alienware Monthly between Selfless and Rogue. This series came down to the wire. It was really great, so I just thought I had to do it. And I said we that right there, by the way, because joining me today is KarQ. He's another fellow YouTuber. He does pretty similar content, and I like it. I think it's pretty cool content. Hello, KarQ. How are you?
Good, Skyline. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Well, I mean, let's forget about that. Let's forget about us, though. The clock's already down. So Selfless and Rogue. We know that Rogue plays these divey sort of team compositions here, as we pause real quick just to look at the team comps. Rogue is very famous for doing their big dive comps, triple DPS all the time, every day with the Winston, and it's pretty effective on this first point, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to think that an aggressive comp like this, especially with no Ana, actually, as Rogue, they're running a Lucio Zenyatta, and the nature of the Zenyatta, of course, on attack is to help the Lucio and Winston take down the first target they see on the high ground, usually a squishy target, because they can bypass the Reinhardt shield. Let's say Zenyatta discords Defran on Soldier 76, the discord plus a Genji swipe into the Winston Tesla cannon through all barriers and shields can be a large advantage they can immediately take.
Now, something interesting about the defense that both these teams actually wind up doing, but Selfless is doing a little bit less. They're playing far up. Now we see Nox jumps in. He gets taken out. So this push kind of gets thwarted, but Selfless is playing relatively far up. They're not playing normally you'd see in matchmaking, where they play a little bit further back in the bridge.
Yeah, I think a large reason why teams have been opting for an aggressive defense is because of the high ground advantage, of course, and farming level ultimate, but I think an important reason is that if you take fights at this point of the map, defending teams are guaranteed to have a second fight once the payload reaches underneath the, underneath the building, I suppose. In a large part of matchmaking games, we notice that teams usually give this payload push for free until under the bridge, and teams will eventually drop back around servers and hold there. So I feel like the reason why Selfless plays up there is just because they're guaranteed that second fight.
Notice, though, that they did lose that fight. So you can see how difficult it is to defend here, because if we actually come down here even, if you're standing up here, first of all, you always need to have a tank down on the payload to defend it. So your team is just inherently split up, but also you have this side route, you can jump up and through there. You can also just attack through there as the attackers. So you can see all these different flank routes all around, all these awful, terrible angles they can use to really dismantle this defense. But KarQ, you're saying how you actually get two fights out of it. But the trade-off there is that second fight isn't necessarily as good, because you can see that Selfless is pushed back pretty far. Now, normally this would have put Selfless in a position where the cart is very far back, but look, here's the mistake that I think Rogue is making right now. They only have one person on the payload. When you beat that sort of really aggressive defense, you have to always have three on the payload so you can get into that advantageous position, because look at how far back Selfless is right now, but the payload didn't really progress as much as it should have. So now Selfless is going to come in and be able to take a little bit more of a pushed up fight against Rogue. So now gets a double ultimate there from Tracer, which is going to help them quite a bit more than maybe it should have normally. But still, regardless, you can see that Selfless actually gets into a decent position once again. Normally, though, defending far up like that, if you lose, you have to fight in a more disadvantageous position later on.
So after it looks like Rogue retakes against Selfless's aggressive defense, I can see where Selfless might have trouble restabilizing on the high ground, just because they're kind of stuck in a choice between pretty much only three entrances. It's hard to get into that top left door into the high ground right out of spawn. So it looks like what Selfless did was send Tracer into the backline to create some space for the team to come out of their spawn and end up restabilizing, because Sinatra had a great sticky and managed to clear two of them right off the get-go.
Oh yeah, that pulse bomb getting two was really huge. Now here, this is something that really makes me a little bit nervous when we see this, and that is that, well, we have Defran out here just kind of chilling. This is kind of interesting. I like how Doc is sitting up there trying to maybe boop someone off out of position up on the top. But we're going to see here that Selfless actually kind of gets split up a little bit. I like to see people either entirely defend the left side or entirely defend the right side. As we see, Anna here, played by Michael, is cut off. And that's due to they didn't pick a side. They didn't pick either that side or this side. So AKM gets a very easy kill on the Anna, which potentially could have cost this fight.
At 127, it looks like Dak actually threw down his beat to counter Tracer's Pulse Bomb. I don't think the Pulse Bomb actually stuck anybody because it's faster. It detonates faster than the sound barrier animation. But as we see earlier, Doc was at the top of the high ground there, jiggling around. He ends up getting pushed back from the pressure from Rogue's offense. And what they did was, like Sky said, they split up, had the rest of Selfless go into servers while Ana was left behind, hung out to dry by AKM's tactical visor, and he gets caught out, and killing the Ana immediately secures the fight for Rogue.
So here, Selfless, they very smartly, I think, they don't go and try to do a suicide defense. Instead, they do kind of a more regular hold. We see Sinatra goes down early, which I think that is what prompted Kresnik to go all out here. I thought this was kind of crazy when I saw it, but they went down the Tracer immediately. So they were already, Selfless was already at a defensive disadvantage. It was 5v6. I think that the Reinhardt player Kresnik just saw the opportunity and took it to really try to equalize that fight, and it worked out. I thought that was a good play by him.
Yeah, I think that's the big disadvantage of running a dive heavy comp without a Reinhardt. The big reason why we run a Reinhardt versus a Reinhardt is because there's nothing reliable to stop the Earth Shatter. And the only thing that can really stop it for Rogue is Winston's barrier, but that's a little difficult as it was already put down by the payload. So all Kresnik had to do was drop down and shatter three of the enemies to get huge value out of it and secure the fight.
But there's no shatter now, and that's a really nice pulse bomb, I assume. That was a little alley-oop, a little over-the-shield action we got going there. But everyone goes down now, and again, this is a little bit of an aggressive defense. We see they're all the way up here. That's more aggressive than we normally see. Now, normally, again, in solo queue, teams tend to play a little bit more conservative. Instead, in these games, we're going to see more aggressive defenses. But again, Selfless is going to have a little bit of trouble. Notice Rogue not putting 3 on the card again. Again, I think that really when you beat this aggressive defense, you have to put 3 on. But we're going to see this awkward position now as they come in.
Okay, so it looks like Selfless is in a little awkward position. So I think they're sending Tracer out here to kind of just stop the payload from moving while the rest of the team comes out on the right side. And opening up the fight with Lucio being stickied is a great way to open it up. But AKM actually cleans up Ana, so 5v5 there with Ana versus Lucio is an advantage to Rogue over here.
Yeah, I don't think that they had enough damage out, and that's mostly because they were going in single file. All they really had was Sinatra on Tracer came in, and some people on the high ground a little bit, but just the damage wasn't there. But whereas Rogue obviously had 6 players, they could just wipe. And here, this is what Rogue's known for, this spawn camping right here.
Right. It looks like Selfless had a few people jump off the map, so they're stuck in the door. They're camping the door because of the tight nature of it. They're all stuck in one small area, and it looks like they have the sound barrier to even break through it to begin with.
But look real quick, something that I think that teams need to utilize a little bit more is this little sneaky entrance right here behind the box. No one really uses it very much. I think that all 6 cramming into that corridor kind of played into Rogue's hands perfectly. If they had come through this door, they wouldn't have nearly as much of a problem coming out. What do you think about that?
Right, so they came out of that all-cram door, and I feel like when you're in a situation like that, you kind of have to choose left or right, the left door or the right door. And if you have the Reinhardt holding up the shield to begin with, I feel like it's safe to say that the rest of the team could follow up, and they had the sound barrier to open it up. If somebody else came out of the other door, you don't know what's on the other side, and they wouldn't have had the sound barrier. And I think it was just a shot call by Selfless that they were going to open up with sound barrier in order to break it through. So just to ensure everybody catches it, I think that's why they funneled out of there.
But I mean, because they were there, that's like their spawn. Rogue is so far pushed up. I think just a quick split, like, imagine if Defran came from that other door. He has the advantage of being in the spawn door, right? Now look at how oppressed they are. They can barely even get out.
Sure.
I think that maybe just that little pressure from the back maybe would have let them come out without burning those resources. Right.
Maybe in hindsight, but it's hard to say in those situations. So I think it is a kind of like a 50-50 call coming out there, and it looks like the nano visor advantage actually had huge value there, and they ended up restabilizing.
Yeah, so they do stabilize here despite the Zenyatta Transcendence. It's not gonna be enough as the spawns come out. That's pretty much that. So they will wind up losing the fight. Some stuff happens. It's about 40 seconds of just poking back and forth. But now this is it. Rogue's final attack. And actually we see also, this is really, really important. This pretty much decided the fight. Defran up here. Notice he's completely split off from his team. 100%. This is 100% a sneak. It's a sneak KarQ. He's trying to be a ninja, but we all know that Nico is playing the real ninja.
Right. Genji shoots a couple of shurikens, catches Defran out with Winston jumping at the same time, and he ends up falling very early in the fight and losing the visor with it. And Nico just cleans and wipes the house with his Dragon Blade, and he's the sneakier ninja.
I think you really... I just don't think that was respectful enough to Rogue, because those sneaky little plays like that was such a big risk. You're basically saying, please don't check here. Please be blind. Don't check here at all. And I think that it was a little bit too much of a risk for maybe not enough. I mean, if he did get away with it, right? If he did get away with being in the back, getting that free visor that just they didn't see, that would have been awesome, right? But can you really expect to not be checked by Rogue there? That's a bit of a iffy question. A lot of risk with I don't know. It seemed
arguably good reward.
It was good reward.
Arguably a lot of reward. Very good reward, but you have to respect, especially at this level of competition, that's a very common angle to hold, and you have to respect the competition at this level to at least check that corner for a sneaky visor. And earlier, if we noted that we could actually see Ana healing and shooting a shot up into that corner.
That's actually also a good point. That's a very small detail, but you saw that red line. You can kind of see it now. But the tracer from Michael playing Ana, his healing shot actually could be seen by Soon here, and that probably was a pretty big giveaway. So if someone's sneaking, shooting them with scoped in Ana, probably not the best. But that's that. Rogue does take the map in overtime, but that's certainly a very beatable time. Selfless now in attack, and Rogue playing kind of their famous, I would say, they're very known for this spawn camping, playing super aggressive. Look at this KarQ, how far up they're playing.
Yeah, I think it stems back with the aggressive defense. It's very popular in Gibraltar, being able to take a second fight when the payload reaches closer to the checkpoint. It's kind of weird how Rogue is running very dive heavy on defense, but it just goes to show that it's been working for them. Nico's a great Genji, a really sneaky ninja, and Soon's been playing very well in Tracer as well, landing a couple clutch sticky bombs, but it looks like it's working so far. They've taken out Sinatra on Genji too, which is quite the interesting hero choice, because I know he's very notorious for his.
Yeah, I think I like the Sinatra on Genji here, because he can come up here, and so this is really key. First of all, he just took out Unko, and now he can easily solo the soldier as well. They really needed that extra mobility. I think coupling him with, because you see that they're running the Reinhardt and also that Roadhog, right? I think coupling it with maybe a Winston, someone else with vertical mobility would have been good. It's a bit strange to just throw Sinatra out there by himself solo, but they do take it. And now, like I said, here is the weakness of holding up that far defensively. Now the second defense isn't going to be as big, but Rogue with the triple DPS composition doesn't necessarily need to be right up in their face. So playing far back is kind of their strength, I'd say.
Yeah, yes and no. They're playing that triple DPS comp to help counter, or to help get out of the spawn. It looks like Tracer, Winston, and Genji are very mobile heroes. They can get out. Winston obviously not being a DPS. It looks like Selfless actually end up taking the fight here because of the tactical visor, destroying squishy DPS heroes.
Yeah, I think that just without having a shield on top, because it was all DPS heroes, Defran with visor just that was pretty much unstoppable. Ooh, with only 1.8 meters though, they stop him.
Yep. They stop him. What happens here is actually that Soon popped out of the spawn earlier, out of the left door to stall and stop the payload, which allowed Unko and AKM to come out with the nano visor on top, causing Selfless to retreat behind LOS, and then that was subsequently followed up by Nico with the Dragon Blade, catching anybody out hiding. It's hard for Nico to die as a Dragon Blading Genji when everyone's kind of split up hiding with each other, not sure where to peek, not sure where to look, and the frenzy lets Rogue restabilize. They push up, and it looks like Winston actually gets slept here, changing the tide of the fight to a 6v5, and with Rogue burning all the ultimates with the Nanovisor Blade earlier, Emong with his whole hog, catching some people out, killing 2 of them, sleeping Winston a little bit earlier, and Selfless ends up taking this 3rd fight on the payload.
And that's sort of a theme too, because so Selfless just took the point. We were talking about before how Rogue, with their super aggro defense, has to be a little bit careful, because when they inevitably really lose that first point, they are put into a difficult position in the second point, where they're forced to burn a lot of ults just to stay in it, just to survive. And now Selfless has all the ults, and Rogue has none.
Yep, but it looks like Nico actually ends up picking off Sinatra to start, even with their huge ultimate advantage. Emong's doing his best to survive because he got nano boosted. I think he ends up cleaning up 3 people here, but at the end of the day, he's just staggering because the rest of his team got cleaned up very quickly. And I just want to point out how great AKM has been. I think he was the one, or sorry, no, Nico and AKM both in this entire game. Nico killed Sinatra's Tracer again early on, probably due to some help from AKM, and I know AKM's been tearing it apart with those Helix rockets.
Nico's been a real terror, yeah, specifically to Sinatra this game. Oh, but up through the top, now this is important, a little bit, I think they were taken a little bit by surprise here, as Selfless came all through the top right, took out the players on the bridge. They sort of got blindsided. They didn't really see it coming, although AKM...
Yeah, AKM with the Nanovisor has unbelievable value if he's not cleaned up or stunned and whatnot or interrupted. So even with the great start, AKM's Nanovisor ends up cleaning up 2 of them, and Rogue is able to restabilize.
Yeah, so Selfless has been taken. Well, notice they didn't have any ultimates, right? Because in that first fight, they kind of burn ultimates for no reason. So Selfless in that first point of the second. Remember when Rogue got a few picks on them, and then it was just this big staggered fight. We saw that be a real issue right there.
Yeah, and in this fight, it looks like Sinatra actually kills the Ana first, and Ana dying first in every fight usually spells defeat, and it looks like Selfless cleaned it up with Sinatra sneaking up, killing the Ana. He's still alive, tearing it up, kills a few more, and with that, it looks like Selfless pushes it up right near the checkpoint, but it gets stalled. Nico with a Dragon Blade, slashing through, slicing and dicing, cleaning up a bunch more kills.
Yeah, and they managed to that was a lot, actually. They killed a lot of people really fast. Really good aim by Sinatra. So the Ana, like you said, the Ana went down early. And usually when you lose your Ana early, that's it. And Kresnik uses his ultimate there just to kind of finalize it. It knocked down Nico. He couldn't contest it at the end. But there it is. They take the point. And now Selfless, with 2 minutes remaining. I told you guys, I told you at the beginning, this grand finals went down to the wire. And with only 2 minutes remaining, this is the tournament point. And looks like KarQ they still have a little bit of work to do because they don't have any ultimates coming into this, and Rogue is definitely pressuring them a lot.
Rogue playing the really aggressive defense. They're having a lot of pressure into Selfless's spawn because they're kind of stuck on that open garage and the door. But unfortunately, aggressive defense doesn't come without its high risk, and it looks like Emong kills the Wiz on the Lucio, and Nox on the Winston does end up falling to Michael 3D.
I think that there are a lot of merits into this aggressive defense, but at the same time, I think that we went a little too far. I think that just holding here in this sort of area back and keeping them confined into this choke point, into this garage, was more than enough utility. I thought Rogue was getting a lot of value out of that, and this big, forcing this ultimatum, forcing this big fight here wasn't in their favor. So I really, really love this aggressive defense. It's just so fun to watch, and I think it's effective. But there, they pushed the envelope a little bit too far. It's a really hard balance, and this is why this sort of thing is not something that I necessarily recommend in solo queue, because the balance between too aggro and not aggro enough is just so fine that even the best teams in the world, even someone like Rogue, who's a specialist in this type of strategy, gets it wrong.
Yeah, when one thing goes wrong, the rest of the team follows suit. I think Wins got hooked out really early, and then Nox kind of leaped in right after by his lone self. Okay, so it looks like the friend sitting on Tactical Visor. He's gonna pop it real soon here, and I'm not sure why he wasn't nano boosted here, because Michael's sitting on that nano boost, and it looks like AKM does it with on top of the sound barrier, so it secures that fight. It's not like the nano visor with sound barrier is gonna lose to just a regular visor, and it looks like Rogue ends up restabilizing.
Yeah, AKM with the nano obviously beating out Defran without the nano. I think that was definitely a little bit of miscommunication. We saw Defran, Emong, Sinatra burn their ults immediately. There was no hesitation. They just went in. That was clearly a concerted full push that was going to burn all the ults, and Michael just didn't. I think that maybe he couldn't find him. Maybe he was through a teammate. I think that was probably the most likely thing that happened. And now he uses the nano after one of his own teammates die, and so this is a little bit of a desperation move now from Selfless.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. There's only a few seconds left. It looked like Soldier was about to die, Defender was about to die, and Michael just had to nano boost him to keep him up, give that extra defense. But it was a little too late, as it looks like Rogue with another nano blade, or sorry, not a nano blade, forget that. Just a regular blade cleans the rest of the team up, as well as AKM landing some good Helix rockets this game. I think he killed Tracer, or Sinatra's Tracer as well with it. He's been on fire this entire match.
I think the cool kids call it a naked blade. That's what I heard.
Ah,
but yeah, so there you go. Spoiler alert: Rogue wins. Even though you just watched it. Who would? I don't know. It was close. I had no clue who was gonna win coming into this match. But so in the end there, that nano was pretty subpar. But it wasn't. It was only because the time was so low. And I think if they had slowed it down a little bit, because if we look, because here we can still see that they have 25 seconds left in the clock. There's no real reason to do this big, like, whoa, go up and rush there sort of thing. Because as we go around, we see that Sinatra gets a little bit greedy and goes down very early. And now this 5v6 prompts the nano boost onto Defran, the kind of the panic nano boost, the sort of last second nano boost. And from there, that's it. So I thought that both teams played really well, KarQ.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sky. I think both teams played it really well. It was down to the wire. I think it just came out to just better communication there. I think Rogue had a great synergy with the nano visor at the end on top of beat to ensure that AKM could pretty much survive almost anything during the barrier and just burn everyone down with the nano visor.
Yeah, I agree with that. The communication, the teamwork from Rogue was definitely a bit crisper than Selfless. They're reacting a little bit faster. They were Selfless got stalled out in a couple areas, plus that was just the one last example we saw there with the nano boost, right? Thanks for coming on, KarQ. This was super fun. Really enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked it too. Any parting words? Oh, shout out your channel. What do you do? What do you do nowadays, KarQ?
Thanks for having me, Sky. I'm also a YouTuber, as Sky pointed out earlier in there. You can find me at youtube.com/KarQ Games, and also on Twitch, as I am now streaming there instead of YouTube gaming at twitch.tv/KarKew. It's Q, but spelled out. Instead of the letter Q, it's just KEW at the end. So if you guys could drop by, say hello. If you're Sky subscribers and fans and part of his audience, say, hey, I came from the collaboration. I'll be sharing this video amongst my audience, and I'm hoping they give you some real kind words as well on all your content.
That's all we have, guys. Let me know what you thought about it. This was obviously the first collab analysis we did. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you want any more. And never forget, stay positive. Have a great day. Peace out, guys.